Ms. Hauser, you claim your ex-husband unexpectedly walked out on you when your son, Michael Campbell, was 5 months old. You say your son has had medical problems since he was a child, and you have petitioned the court for a DNA test in order to hopefully find a solution for a life-debilitating condition. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Campbell, you say you never believed the plaintiff's son belonged to you, and today's result will prove your case and clear your name. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Hauser, how positive are you that the defendant is your son's father?
100%, Your Honor.
You are. Explain.
Mr. Campbell and I met when I was a junior and he was a senior in high school. And what ended up happening was mid to late July, early August, I became pregnant. We discussed it and we figured out to get married. We eloped.
And why did you make that decision?
Because Mr. Campbell's father hated me.
Really?
Oh, yes. Absolutely could not abide me.
They didn't even know you were getting married at all?
No, they didn't know I was pregnant then either.
They did not?
No, ma'am, they did not, Your Honor.
And so you made the decision, Mr. Campbell, to elope with Ms. Hauser?
Yes.
You knew she was pregnant, and your family, they were not fond of this union.
My father wasn't, no.
And so you're pregnant,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
get married. Did you get married because you were in love, or did you get married because you found out you were pregnant?
I actually thought it was both, Your Honor.
How about you, Mr. Campbell?
I would agree with that. I thought it was both.
You did.
Yes.
So when you got married, because of the baby and also because you loved her, did you think you were this child's biological father?
No.
You did not?
No, I never believed for 1 second it was.
Ms. Hauser, you seem surprised.
Oh, very surprised. If Mr. Campbell was not Michael's father, why did he sign the birth certificate? Why, when we got divorced, did Mr. Campbell and his family try to get custody of Michael?
Mr. Campbell?
That is complete.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
No, ma'am. I was in basic training in the Army when Michael was born.
Did anybody bring a copy of this birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Jerome, let me see that. So wait, Ms. Hauser, you're saying that Mr. Campbell signed the birth certificate?
The Army base of Fort Jackson supplied a copy of it and they sent it back to the state of Missouri, and that is what it looks like now.
And Mr. Campbell, you say you weren't aware of this?
No, ma'am. I've never seen that.
You've never seen the birth certificate?
Well, I have one at home now, but I didn't for many, many years.
So you know Dennis R. Campbell is listed as father?
Yes, but I didn't list me on there. I was in basic training. I had no idea.
You don't remember receiving an
No.
acknowledgement or anything to sign?
No, ma'am.
But
I
at
do
that
not.
time, you all were married?
Yes,
So the
ma'am,
child
we
was
were.
born within the marriage?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I want to understand this. You're saying you knew when you married her that this wasn't your child?
Yes, ma'am.
So why marry a woman that's pregnant with another man's child and you don't believe there's any possibility that it's yours?
She was my first love, and we were kids, and I thought, we would make the perfect high school romance, live together forever, ignorance is youth kind of thing.
That's very well put. It's very well put.
And there are no other possibilities?
No, ma'am, there is not.
So,
Your Honor.
Mr. Campbell, I'd like to understand your doubt. Why do you doubt?
Well, when Peggy and I were together, we broke up right after I'd graduated, before summer had started. And we didn't get back together until August of 1980. So there was just no possible way the timing would have worked out.
When you do the math and count back from the date of birth, you were not together, is what you're saying.
That is correct.
You don't see it that way, Ms. Hauser?
No, Your
How
Honor,
do
I
you
don't.
remember it?
I just don't understand how Mr. Campbell can say that we were broke up. We were not broke up. We were together.
When was the first time you heard he had doubts? Because he married you and...
4 years ago.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened?
I had finally contacted him because Michael had questions about his medical conditions. He wanted to know if I could get a hold of his dad to get some kind of a copy of the family medical history, because Michael is disabled, and he has been practically all his life. That's when I first heard from Mr. Campbell. Why would I send that? He's not my kid. At the time, Michael was 31 years old. And I'm sorry, it pissed me off.
And I can see that it really hurts you as well.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I was faithful to this man the entire time we were together. We never broke up, Dennis, you know it. And to be literally called a whore and stated to my son that I am, no, that ain't working. We're gonna prove this.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. The point when you and Mr. Campbell were married.
Yes, ma'am.
And Michael is born. Where does the relationship go wrong? How do you end up divorced?
The relationship, Your Honor, went bad when I joined Mr. Campbell in South Carolina while he was enlisted. And then when Michael was 4 months old, I moved into a mobile home court with a boyfriend and a girlfriend and one of their friends, and Michael and I. It was a 3-bedroom. There was nothing going on between any of us. It was just cheaper to live that way. Mr. Campbell came to see me because he was in the Army. He was on the base all the time. He came, he gave me some money to pay my share of the rent, and that was the last I saw him.
That was the last you saw him?
Yes, ma'am, until 2 weeks later when I was served with divorce papers and custody papers.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes, please, sir.
During the time that Peggy and I were originally dating, before we ever got married, we'd split up because she had cheated on me. A friend of mine had called me up and said, "Hey, I was with your girl last night," which is why we broke up. Why I married her? Like I said earlier, I was young. I thought I loved her. I thought no matter what, I wanted to try. And then we broke up the second time because that third party that she was living with in South Carolina, I ended up catching them in bed together.
Really?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I came home from leave unexpectedly one weekend, and I came in, and Peggy was in bed with her shirt off, and this gentleman was walking out of the bedroom with his shirt off.
Did that happen, Ms. Hauser?
No, ma'am, it did not.
Yes, it did.
What was your recollection of it, Ms. Hauser?
He came home unexpectedly, as he said. He was playing with Michael. He met the couple and the other gentleman I was living with. He jumped to conclusions the minute he met this man, even though he and I and the couple that were with us denied it.
Was anyone's clothes off at the time?
No.
So, Mr. Campbell, you say you remember this happening.
Very well.
And what
yes.
was your response when you saw this?
Well, I started yelling at her, I'm sure, and I packed up my stuff and left, basically.
What was life like, Ms. Hauser? You're a single mom at this point with a child that has medical challenges.
After the divorce, I went back to Wisconsin, where I had grown up part of my life, and I still had friends there. And Michael had a cast on his left leg from the time he was 1 hour old. He was born with a deformity where his leg was wrapped around his stomach to his back. He was without a third of his ligaments and a third of his tendons. And as he got older, we noticed something wasn't right. He ended up having a rare form of epilepsy
Okay.
on top of it. So we're dealing with that. And then when he turned 12, he had the first diagnosis of manic depression.
I can imagine this has been taxing. I mean, literally, physically,
Financially.
financially, emotionally, and you've been through a lot. Did Mr. Campbell ever help
No.
pay child support?
He paid child support to the state of Wisconsin because I had Michael on social services because I couldn't afford his meds. I really couldn't. And in fact, my husband and I had to file for bankruptcy because we couldn't take care of the bills.
So, Mr. Campbell, did you know this was going on?
Well, no, I wasn't aware that he had issues such as that. Peggy and I, well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hauser and I, we never really spoke after we
the
divorced.
divorce.
So I really didn't know what was wrong with Michael.
Paid child support, but you never asked.
That is correct.
He paid child support, Your Honor, but he fought it every time he had a chance. Your Honor, I couldn't find Mr. Campbell. I knew from our previous emails that he had a son named Brian. That's how I contacted him 4 years ago.
And he's here today. Sir, will you please stand? Thank you for joining us today. Do you believe that Michael, Ms. Hauser's son, is also your father's biological son?
No, I do not, Your
You
Honor.
don't. Why?
Just based on all the history and everything I've known of my father, I mean, he's been a great father.
So you feel because of the way your father has treated you, you think he would never do this to another child that could possibly be his biological child?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have some photographs, Your Honor, on the resemblance between my son and...
I'd like to see that. Jerome? And these are photographs of...
Michael as a teenager and Dennis as a teenager.
And you believe you see a resemblance?
There is a resemblance there, but Michael also looks like Mr. Campbell's father as he got older.
Do you see a resemblance, Mr. Campbell?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
How about you, Brian?
Maybe somewhat.
The only thing he didn't get is your nose. He got mine. It's a little bit pugged.
So, Mr. Campbell,
I have one.
when you walked out, when Michael was 5 months old, and you decided to leave the marriage, did you just close the door completely and never look back, and you just kind of considered, it feels like you considered this child support just tax you had to pay on a marriage you shouldn't have gotten yourself in?
Well, something along those lines, yes.
So, Ms. Hauser,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are 100% sure that Mr. Campbell is Michael's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Campbell, you are 100% sure you are not.
That is correct.
Well, listen, I'm happy you're here today. And I'm happy that we can bring you one step closer to hopefully resolution and figuring out how to move forward. There seems like there's so much animosity, so much, it's like so much time has passed. There's so much history and then there's so little.
Yes.
Because it's that you
Well, I have
got
one more
married
thing.
and then you just separated and never looked back. We've got to get this straightened out. I think it's time to go to the results. Jerome? Thank you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Hauser versus Campbell, when it comes to Michael Campbell, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Campbell, you are not the father.
Oh, my.
Well, Ms. Hauser, 35 years. You were so certain that there was no other person that you had entertained because you had been completely faithful to him. That just is not true. The DNA has
Yeah, I have
spoken.
no clue. I don't recall anything. We were never broke up. We were constantly together.
You don't have to break up to make a baby with someone.
I know, but I would have to ask Mr. Campbell because apparently he knows.
Well, this is a first. Mr. Campbell, do you have any idea? And I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm saying this for this child because her son is experiencing medical challenges, severe medical challenges.
Your Honor, from what I was told, because we were separated during that summer, someone had mentioned a name of a classmate to me.
Just give me the first name. Does that ring a bell?
If it's the same one I'm thinking of, not in your life. And plus, he died 2 years ago.
All right. This is difficult because you are going to have to find a way to explain this to your son.
Yeah.
And in that explanation, you're going to have to own up to the fact that at this point in time, you don't have any clue who his biological father is. And Mom, you're going to have to do what it takes. Ask questions, have a conversation with Mr. Campbell, call old classmates. If my son was on the line, it would be shame in my game. I don't care.
Exactly.
This matters. We have had doctors testify in this courtroom about how when they ask you for your medical history, it's not just because they want to know your business. They're trying to figure out how to help you, how to save your life. What is the other half of your makeup so that they can understand what they can do to make you healthier and whole. This is important information for a young man that's going through what he's going through. Mr. Avant, you petitioned the court for a DNA test to determine if you are the father of your ex-fiancée, Miss Hatton's 13-month-old daughter, Jamethia. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
You're certain Miss Hatton has been deceiving you for over 2 years, and your biggest fear is that today you will walk out of this court without a daughter.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Miss Hatton, you are positive Mr. Avant is Jamethia's father and are hoping the DNA results will piece your family back together.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Avant, how have your doubts affected your family?
It has affected my family tremendously, Your Honor. Me and Miss Hatton was engaged to get married. We eventually called it off. I'm connected to Jamethia like no other way. I have her name tattooed on my right arm on the inside of it. I've been in Jamethia's life since she's been born. When Miss Hatton told me she was pregnant, I asked her then, are you sure?
No, he did not.
I did too.
He didn't.
She stated yes. Who else would it be? Me and Miss Hatton eventually moved in together, and when we was living together, I started hearing stuff that it may not be mine. There's a possibility it could be somebody
Not
else's.
true.
And I've heard this personally from her family.
Someone in her family told
Yes.
you that Jamethia may not be your child?
Yes.
Who in my family would say something like that?
I was told that it was a possibility that she might have had sex with somebody else. I
Oh,
also found messages in
not
her
true.
phone showing that she was talking to her ex and telling him that they was gonna be together, she loved him. So this is an issue for me because we're constantly going back and forth where she's talking to her ex and he is thinking that the baby is his. And at the same time, you're telling me that the baby is
Your
mine.
Honor, that is not even how.
We're living together as well, Your Honor, and she's telling me that why am I worried about the situation when I found the text messages and I questioned her about
He
it.
did not question me.
And
about
Miss
the text
Hatton said,
message.
why are you worried about the messages? I lay with you every night. And I
No,
said, yeah,
that
this is true.
that is not even
But at
how
the same
this came
time that you're
about.
laying
Not
with
at
me every
all.
night, you're telling him
Not at all.
that
Your
y'all are
Honor.
going to be together, that you love him.
Your Honor, that is not even how this
Okay,
went.
let me give you a chance to respond, Ms. Hatton. You're saying that none of what he's saying is true.
Right.
And what's the truth as it...
When it came up to me being pregnant, I lived with my aunt. Jamal came over that day because we took multiple tests to figure out, okay, I am pregnant.
This other guy, was he in the picture?
No, he wasn't in the picture. He was around asking about the baby. Are you guys gonna let me come and actually go to the doctor since this is a possibility that I could be the father of her?
And how did you respond?
I told him I would talk to Jamal about it. Whenever I talked to Mr.
That's not
Avant
true,
about it, he would go off about it. He's like, he doesn't need to be here.
Let me understand this. Now you're standing in court and you're saying you are 100% sure that Mr. Avant is
Yes,
Jamethia's
Your Honor,
father.
I am.
How are you 100% sure if
last-
you admit that there was another man involved?
Yes, the other man that was involved, me and him hadn't had unprotected sex since September. Me and Mr. Avant had, the first time we had sex was in October.
Was the 11th
And-
of October to be exact. And when we had sex on the 11th of October, at that time, we did have unprotected sex.
Yes, we did.
A couple of weeks later, Mrs. Hatton is saying that she's pregnant.
Mr. Avant was on the phone with me when I found out I was pregnant. He was the first person to know about it.
And so, okay. So, Mr. Avant, at what point did you really begin to doubt?
I started to doubt in the beginning, and then I started to doubt more after I started hearing stuff from her family saying that she's not trustworthy, that some of the stuff she say is not true. It came up a point that the doctor, the first OBGYN, had gave us a first due date. That first due date was July around the 14th. She ended up switching OBGYNs and going into a new one. The new OBGYN said the date was gonna be August 25th.
That is so
That's
not
a whole
true.
5-week window.
Not even true.
Wow, you got two
I had
different due dates
yes,
that far
yes,
apart?
but on the birth certificate, my daughter was born July the 16th. Now, my mom said, give
I
or
also
take
have
days
evidence of that.
of it.
Let me see that evidence. Jerome, will you pass that to me, please? So let me understand your evidence. You have presented a calendar to the court that shows what the first due date
calendar
was supposed to
doesn't
be. It
even
was supposed to be
coincide with
July
anything.
16th.
Correct.
And then you say the due date was revised
to the 25th,
to the 25th
of July.
of August.
It was
That is
revised to
completely
the
off.
25th of August.
That is completely off.
The new OBGYN also explained that your conception date didn't add up as well.
No, she said
So
my
the
estimated date that I put as my last menstrual period changed my due date from the 14th of July to the 25th.
Hold on, let me figure this out with my conception calculator. When do you believe you conceived Jamethia? What date?
In October, around like the 13th. It was weeks before my birthday because he said that he wanted me to spend my birthday with him.
And so you think you conceived on October 13th?
Yes.
And
All
if
right.
she conceived on October 13th, it takes
Somewhere
7
in that area.
days for the sperm to reach the
Not
egg
the
to
exact
fertilize.
day, not October 13th, the
It
exact
takes
day.
a total of 7 days to conceive. if I'm not
Okay, it
mistaken.
does,
Okay.
but if
Do you, okay, listen.
on the 13th,
listen,
there is a possibility
Mr. Avant,
that
do
she's your
you
child.
remember being intimate with Miss Hatton around October 13th?
I had sex with Miss Hatton on the 11th of October. I know for a fact.
On the 11th?
Yes.
All
How do
right,
you know
so
that
she
for a
remembers
fact?
the
I
13th.
got paid from work the exact same day. the day
Okay,
me
what
and
does
her
that have
had
to do
sex.
with anything?
I mean, I can
That
add
has
my
nothing
dates
to do with
up
nothing.
because at the same time,
That has nothing
me
to
and
do with
her
nothing.
went out. I ordered food for us when she came over that day. She spent the majority of the day with me on the
Okay,
11th
that has
and went
nothing to do
home
with
that
nothing.
night, and I paid for her to get on the bus that night to go back to her auntie's house.
So if we hit calculate, you get the birth date should be July 16th, 2014. When was Jamethia born?
That
July
exact same
16th,
day.
2014, I have her birth certificate. Would you like to see it, Your
Yes,
Honor?
I would.
She was born July 16, 2014. She was also born around that time because we was trying to break Mrs. Hatton water to go ahead and get Jamethia's hair. And what I mean by we was trying to break her water, we was having sex. She tried castor oil. She was eating spicy food. I even scraped the cervix to try to break
Not
her
true.
water.
Not true, Your Honor.
This is true. The day that she went into labor, she woke me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I jumped up instantly, and we went to the hospital. And then at the hospital, we was informed, yes, you are really in labor. Her doctor even came in and said, well, I guess your labor is going to be early. I guess we won't have to wait.
No, she did not say that my labor was going to be early. She said, okay, she's about to come. My doctor didn't even come in to actually deliver my child until my child was almost here. It was Mr. Avant and another nurse that stood there the whole time coaching me until my doctor arrived in the room.
Really, it was me that was coaching, Your Honor. Every time she would have a contraction, I would tell Mrs. Hatton to push so we can go ahead and get Jamethia here.
Yes, he did do that.
All right, so first of all, this evidence you presented is the birth certificate.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And she was born on the 16th of July.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's your proof.
Yes.
The conception date matches the due date.
Yes, Your Honor.
If we look at your calendar, Mr. Avant, you think that her revised due date was still the 25th.
Correct.
And you feel like the castor oil, all of the
Experiments
maneuvers
we
you
was
were doing to try to
Exactly.
get the baby to come
Nothing was working.
made the baby come quicker.
Yes.
So
Not
you
true, Your
believe
Honor.
she really wasn't due until
August.
August.
Not true, Your Honor. My daughter got the 25th due date because she was small. The time I was 6 months, my daughter only weighed 3 pounds. So they told me, okay, we're gonna have to give you an emergency C-section if your daughter doesn't gain any weight. They switched my due date to the 25th because they said that she was too small to be the size that she needed to be during the window that she was supposed to be born. She gained the weight that she needed by the time that I went back to the doctor, and I was able to continue out carrying her through the full term.
What's
Yeah.
interesting as well is you handed up the birth certificate and his name is on it.
He actually, Your Honor,
I
he
filled
filled
out all
out
the
the birth
paperwork.
certificate himself. I didn't see the birth certificate until I purchased it.
Your
Mr.
Honor, that's not
Avant
true.
signed it.
Because
he,
when
he
Miss
wrote
Hatton
it out,
had,
everything.
when the paperwork was presented to us for the birth certificate and also for the legitimization paperwork, I asked Miss Hatton, did you want to fill it out or do you want me to?
At this
She
time, I
"You
said,
can
I
go
will
ahead."
let my aunt fill it out. He said, no,
She
I
said,
want to
either
fill it
you
out.
can fill it out or I can let my auntie fill it out when she come back up here.
No, I did not.
And so I filled it out.
But if you had a doubt, why sign?
Exactly. Why sign the birth certificate? Why
Because
did you get
I
her
was-
name tattooed on you? Why have you been here this whole time? In the beginning,
Because
Your
I've
Honor, I
been
told him
connected
from
to
day one,
Jamethia.
if he
It's
felt like it
not
wasn't
about-
his, he didn't
now
have
it's
to
not
be
about
there.
me and Miss Hatton. It's about Jamethia.
It is.
I've been in Jamethia's life before she was born. And I'm still here. I'm connected to Jamethia. So it's going to be hard for me to leave Jamethia. She had a friend take a picture of our daughter. When she was sitting in her car seat, she was smiling, cheesing real hard. He then took a picture as well with him smiling and cheesing real hard and posted it. What do you think about my baby?
No, that is not
It
what
got
he said.
a lot of likes
No,
on Instagram.
no. That is not what he
To
said.
the point where Miss Hatton told me when I got home, and I said,
Jamal
and I
was sitting
spazzed, and I
right
said,
there in the
why?
house.
No,
One at a time, one
I
at a
had
time.
just got
So
home
you
from
see
work.
this photo on Instagram.
He
It's
doesn't
getting a
see
lot
it.
of likes. And it's the baby you have signed the birth certificate.
Yes.
It's
And
your
another
child, your legal child.
Yes.
Whether or not it's your biological child or not.
Yes.
You're looking at your baby, Jamethia,
Yes.
and another man.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he's saying, what do you think about my baby?
Yes,
No,
Your Honor.
that is not
And
what the picture
got
stated.
the pictures
comment
got
under
a lot
the
of
picture
likes.
are saying, do they look alike? A lot of people said, well, they look like this because
No,
they're
not a
both
lot of
this.
people.
A lot of people
Majority.
said, no, they do not look alike, but she looks exactly like him.
But why, Miss Hatton, why would you let someone post
I
that
didn't
picture?
let anybody post
She
the
did,
picture.
Your Honor,
When
and
they
as a matter
posted
of fact,
the picture, me and
that's
Mr.
not true.
Avant were sitting at home on the sofa. He was like, "Babe, what you looking at?" I said, "I'm looking at this." I said, "Look at this. Look what he posted on Instagram." He
And
was
I
like,
spazzed,
"Really?
Your Honor.
Why are you letting him do that? Why are you letting him do that?" I
'Cause
told
what-
him to take it down.
what
What
is
he
the
said
purpose?
is Jamal shouldn't be so insecure when he knows it's his baby. Is what he said.
What is the purpose?
They look exactly
Regardless
alike.
of whether the fact that's my
Everything
baby or
about
not.
them looks just
What
alike.
is the
Your Honor,
purpose?
can I show
One at a
you?
time. Just, I need
Can I
you
show
all
you
to
the
talk
picture?
one at a time.
Yes, Your Honor, I do apologize.
Your Honor, may I please show you the evidence of Mr.
Did anybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I can't hear both of you when you're talking at one time, and I'm trying to understand the evidence you want to present.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you're saying you saw this picture,
Yes, Your Honor.
and she did ask this person to take it down.
After I got upset, Your Honor. When I got upset and said something about it, because why is he posting a picture of my baby and him side by side and he's done nothing for her? This is not a funny situation to me. I'm already having problems with is you and your ex saying that it might be his. Now it's another dude and he got a picture and they look similar. I can't deny it.
They
If you
look
look at the
nothing
picture,
alike.
from the cheekbones to the nose, even people that commented said the same thing.
Jamethia.
I have my reason for having doubts, Your Honor.
When you're in a committed relationship with somebody or you're engaged to them or you are about to marry this person, there's no need for you to get a DNA test every time you have a child if you feel like it's yours.
No, you're right. There's no need. Ms. Hatton is right. There's no need to have a DNA test every time you have a child. But there is a need to have a DNA test when you're not sure and you're telling other people that they're possibly liable to be the father.
Okay, I already
at the
understood
same-
that. I already told him that from the beginning.
And at that, but I was over the road late February, early March. I'm a truck driver. When I was over the road, Mrs. Hatton took our daughter, Jamethia, to see her ex.
No, I did
The
not,
other
Your
dude
Honor.
who's supposed to be the dad. How do I know this? Because I heard it from the cow's mouth himself. He called me and said this.
No, that is not true. That is definitely not true.
And said
So you
she
didn't
brought
take the
Excuse me.
child to see?
No, I did not take her to see him. Him and his best friend came to my house because he said, I wanted to see her. Since nobody
That's not
got
true,
their
Your Honor.
DNA test together.
That's not true, Your Honor.
It
the
is.
truth
It
of the
is.
story, a friend of hers had came around and spent time with them. Her and the girl eventually went over to this dude's neighborhood and seen him. And he said, and this is what he told me. He said, why are you bringing her to see me now? And you ain't brought her by and she done been alive this whole time. So
Your
why
Honor,
are
this
you
is not
taking,
true.
first and foremost, why are you taking her over there behind my back? You could have took her over there when I was home. You could
So you believe she was sneaking around once you were on the road, taking Jamethia to see another potential father?
Correct.
You say that's not true. You say they came over to your house to see the baby.
Yeah, they came over my house. He said, okay, so when are we gonna get this DNA test done? Since Mr. Avant contacted him, they spent hours on the phone. Him and Jamethia look just alike. I have evidence here to show that they look just alike.
Let me see that evidence.
From the way that they smile, they have the same dimples, everything.
This is a
Their
picture
hairline
of what?
looks just
Please
alike.
tell me, Miss Hatton.
Of Mr. Avant and Jamethia. They look exactly alike, overall, everything.
It's a picture of Mr. Avant on the left and Jamethia on the right.
Yes, Mr. Avant has dimples and so does Jamethia. And those are a picture of their ears, which I never really paid attention to till we took the picture of it. And their hairlines. When Mr. Avant let his hair grows out, he does have a receiving hairline just like my daughter. From the way that it curves all the way out to the way that it goes in on both sides, it's exactly alike.
So when you look at these pictures and you look at them,
I see
you have
Mr.
no doubt.
None. None whatsoever.
You know that's his child.
Yes, ma'am.
When you look at the pictures, Mr. Avant, are you certain?
I'm not, Your Honor. I feel, and like I told Ms. Hatton from the beginning, I've said she's mine. I've never denied that she was mine. But seeing things and hearing things, it makes you question and it makes you wonder. And it makes you want to really know the answers and the truth.
You say your greatest fear is you leave this courtroom today without a daughter because you love this little girl.
Yes, that's true.
So if you're not Jamithia's biological father, will you stay in the child's life or will you just move on?
At this time, Your Honor, I honestly can say I'm not sure. It's gonna hurt me if she not mine. But it's also a ripple effect because now I have to go back to my son and tell him, you ain't got a sister. You still the only child. I now have to also sit back and, you know what I'm saying, my parents are not gonna say nothing, but they're gonna be supportive because now I know the truth.
I think it's time for the results. Jerome? These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Avant versus Hatton, pertaining to 13-month-old Jamithia Avant, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Avant, you are not Jamithia's father. I'm very sorry, Mr. Avant.
Nah, man, it's not all right.
Yes, it
I've
is.
been there.
It's all right.
Hurt.
It's all right. I'm sorry. I don't want to see you cry. I don't want to see you hurt. Nothing like that. We both knew that this
Yeah,
could
we spoke
possibly
about
be
this,
it.
but the truth is, though, at the same time, you kept saying, yes, this is your baby.
In my mind, it was no doubt about it. But at the same time, you knew how everything started and where it ended at.
But Ms. Hatton, you did stand in court today and say you are 100%
Yes,
sure.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I think that gave him a false sense of security. Ms. Hatton, Jamithia's biological father, do you know who it is?
The only other person that we were talking about in the situation.
Do they want to be a part of her life?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Ms. Wallace, you summoned your ex-husband and his new wife to court to prove he fathered your 2-year-old daughter, Araylin. You say he is too busy playing daddy to his new family and has neglected your daughter for far too long, and that ends today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes,
You
Your Honor.
say your ex-wife was so busy doing her that she lost track of who she was doing. And you say you have no problem taking care of your kids, but you have serious doubt that you fathered the plaintiff's daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Wallace, why do you feel your ex-husband is denying your daughter?
Because of his new wife. Clearly, it's a problem that me and Ryan has been honest with each other in the past. I know exactly how many kids Ryan has. I'm not sure if she knows. I'm not sure why when he ran off with her that all of a sudden it was a problem. He was there when I told him I was pregnant, and if he was at home being a husband, then we wouldn't be here in DNA court because I don't sleep around with people's husbands. I don't have time to be like worrying about a DNA test. This
Okay,
is
let
ridiculous.
me make sure I understand where we are. What you're saying is you have an older child and you had that child in your marriage,
Yes, and he was there,
and then there's Araylin.
Raylan, and he's not there because of Bree.
And you were saying that he was out running around.
Chasing cats in the street.
Mr. Wallace, did you abandon your family?
No, Your
Tell
Honor.
the truth.
We separated. After so many years, we separated. She was doing her thing and I was doing my thing, and it was just a spur of a moment.
So why, if that's the case, why treat our daughters different?
Okay, so let me get to the conception window. I want to understand, you all are husband and wife, you're separated, you're out dating other people. What happens this night when you take me to that night, when
can
you
tell-
have sex?
We had sex because I tell him the story about these people who's married, and I'm telling him, why would I sleep with a married man when I got my own husband? I got my own husband. I can sleep with you if that's the case. So I'm like, can I have what's mine? Can I have some? Oh, Ray, we ain't did it in a long time. I said, so? Is it mine or not? He like, yeah, let me go cut off the car. So he go cut off the car, he come back in, and he took me all the way to Orion's belt. I saw the moon and the stars and the sun and Orion's belt. I knew Oh, yeah, that's mine. That's mine. At the time, not now, that's hers now. But what I'm saying, at the time, it was mine. So I'm like, I'll go to work, you know, but that's what brung the sex into it.
So
why would I sleep with somebody else's husband?
Orion's belt, that's his belt.
Oh, yeah, took me there.
So you went there.
Sun, moon, stars.
Sun, moon, and stars.
I saw it.
So that's the night you feel like you got pregnant with Raylan.
That is the night I got pregnant with her.
All right. Do you remember taking her on this trip to Orion's belt, Mr. Wallace?
I can't recall, Your Honor.
You can't recall.
It was only one time, Ray.
You remember that
After
one
3
time,
or 4
though.
years.
Okay. He remembers it, though.
So
They never denied it.
how soon after you went, actually you got back from the sun, the moon, and the stars, you went, came back. How long after that did you find out you were pregnant?
I felt it immediately, but 3 weeks later.
Up there at the sun?
I felt it as soon as I got back down and I woke up and came back to reality. Like, oh, I just had sex with my husband.
Oh, and you said, I think I'm pregnant, or you just knew it was a possibility?
I thought I was pregnant.
Mr. Wallace, I want to hear from you. What was your reaction when your wife, because at that time, you're still legally married.
His wife.
So your wife says to you, you know what? I think I am pregnant.
I told her we got to do it. I have to do what I have to do to take care of the baby.
Thank you.
I told
So
her.
you didn't deny it?
I did not deny it until she told me months later. Till she told me she almost 4 months old. Tell me that it might be a possibility.
It's not true.
Oh, what did she say, Mr. Wallace?
Right after I signed the birth certificate, she told me that it might be another guy.
Oh, let's get to that part. Ms. Wallace, did you or did you not have sex with somebody else while your husband had kind of moved on?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you have unprotected sex with someone?
Yes.
Did you have unprotected sex with anybody during the window of time when Raylan
No.
was conceived?
No.
You say you did not.
I say I
And
did.
that's why you feel like you know for certain at that time your husband was her biological father.
Yes, is.
So why, when Raylan's 4 months old, does Mr. Wallace remember you saying you not the dad?
Because he always want to try to say, oh, she looked more and more like me. I said, I don't know who she looked like, because she's light-skinned. So if she's light-skinned, I'm not going to just be like, oh, she looked like you, and she got your toe, and she got your eyebrows. I'm not about to go through all of that. All I said was, people say that because we so dark, she shouldn't have been light at all.
You know it doesn't have anything to do
But
with
that
like
was-
light and dark and brown. I mean, we sit up in here and hear too much testimony about what color a baby's skin was. It's about the DNA. That's what it's about. What I want to know is the timing. You're telling me that during the window of conception, you only slept with Mr. Wallace.
That is true, Your Honor.
So when was this, Mr. Wallace? When did this happen?
December 27,
Oh,
28, Ron.
So around December 27, 28, you say you had sex with your then wife.
Yes.
When was Raylan born? Let me get my conception
September
calculator out.
22nd.
When?
September 22nd, Honor.
September 22nd of what year?
You don't know?
She's talking to you.
2017.
All right, I'm gonna put that birth date in my conception calculator and press calculate. The probable conception dates are December 28th to January 2nd. Well, it says that this falls right in the window of time you just outlined. So that adds up with her testimony that you are the biological father. Were you intimate, Ms. Wallace, with any other person slightly before or after this estimated window?
I don't think it was that window, but I was with somebody about 5 days before him.
You do understand that all of these things are estimations.
Yes, I do.
When you think about that, the fact that you're having sex with somebody else in December is definitely reason that someone may have some doubt.
I mean, he could have had some doubt if that's how he felt, but he should have voiced that opinion, though. He should have said, hey, Ray, you know, I ain't been home in months. You know, I got this girlfriend out here, and I ain't been home in months. are you sleeping with anybody? Or he already knew what I was doing though, because why would I have the conversation about sleeping with somebody else's husband and I got my own husband if he didn't know I was sleeping with somebody else? Y'all trying to make it seem like I'm lying about something, but I'm not. He's trying to make it seem like I'm lying.
We're not trying to make you seem like you lying. We're trying to make you understand that the truth that you are testifying to, your truth,
5 days before,
only then gives more credibility to his doubt.
Rayshawn, you know she doesn't have my eyebrows. All my other kids, all the 7 kids have my arch eyebrows.
I understand, Ryan.
Raylan eyebrows are straight.
Are we talking about eyebrows?
We talking about eyebrows. We talking about real eyebrows.
Okay. Let me look through my court
Submitted
papers.
the effort.
Oh, and you even submitted a chart to the court. I see it now. How in the world did I skip over the eyebrow chart? Let's get to it. So, Mr. Wallace, you submitted this chart to the court because you say all of your children have a distinct feature.
Yes.
Tell the court about that.
See, I have the strong arch of eyebrow. Of all my other kids, my son have them, my daughter have them, Raylan doesn't have my strong arch eyebrows.
Good. That's not going to change the DNA results. You know, I don't know why you feel like she's not yours because of the eyebrows. I felt like she was yours because of what we did and the time frame that we did it and how you acted after I told you I was pregnant. He never said, no, that ain't my baby. I asked him, what we gonna do? Well, let me know when you go to the doctors. Let me know this, let me know that. Like I said, he was there he took off work, he was there.
All right. So what I do understand is you are very clear on that. Mr. Wallace didn't doubt you, but you're saying it was because of this relationship, his new wife, his new girlfriend, that he pretty much has neglected Raylan.
I think so.
I saw you with your hand raised, Ms. Johnson. Before I go to the results, is there anything you'd like to add?
My thing is that she called, when you go send Raylan some diapers, when you go send her some Pampers, when you go send...
I shouldn't have to call.
And that's about it. And I asked her what's going on.
Okay, I want to ask you this. Are you the reason that he doubts? Because it sounds like you doubt.
Yeah, I'm doubting because she don't have the eyebrows.
Okay, so see, this is starting to make sense now. So you are really doubtful about this baby. And you're reinforcing this doubt in your husband. And you're also telling her she doesn't have to call and ask for different things. But if she doesn't have them and the baby needs them,
I automatically sense it.
How?
I automatically sense it.
You're saying you already have a plan how you send it where there's no need for her to call.
Exactly.
So you believe the calls are just trying to disrupt your marriage.
Yes.
So you're resentful of that. So do you see how there are a whole bunch of different dynamics at work here, none of which serve Raylan? And if eyebrows could determine paternity, then we wouldn't need to be here with her precious little cute self.
She is upset.
I'm upset too.
Can I say this, Your Honor? He's the one that runs off and goes to different states and creates real babies and fake families. He's the one that does that. My baby, 2 years old, he didn't even call my baby on her birthday. Yeah, I don't celebrate, but so what? Call her.
I called. I respected you because I knew it.
No, you didn't. It ain't no respect to it.
Did
Can
I call
say
her?
this? If it's about the baby, why they worried about me?
We video call her.
At the end of the day, I only call him when I want something.
I
And it
video
got
call
everything
her.
to do with money. Because guess what? I don't want nothing else that he got. I don't want his lies. I don't want his time. I don't want none of that. If he's not going to be there for our daughters, he can go on. He can take care of her kids, and it ain't going to make me no never mind. Because guess what? My door is open for when you want your kids, the ones that you claim. And you know it.
I'm always there for my kids.
I'm going to pull myself together because he got me messed up.
We know that.
And I ain't never lied to him. All the stuff I done found in your phone. And how long have y'all been in this relationship? And how long was we married? Y'all's whole relationship
about
is
that, it's
faulty.
about
Yeah,
the
it is
baby.
about that.
Listen.
It's all about the baby.
It's about the baby, and she's denying my baby. That's what I'm saying.
She never denied her. She just
Mr.
wants the
Wallace.
I just need the DNA.
Don't try to get loud now.
Want the
There's
DNA
no sense of getting loud. We've already heard this saga play out. So this is complicated. And the only way we're going to figure out how to get out of this or get on with this is to get the truth. Jerome, let me have the envelope, please. Woo! These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Wallace versus Wallace, when it comes to 2-year-old Raylan Wallace, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Wallace, you are not the father. You all right?
It's okay.
Mr. Wallace?
Come here.
Mr. Wallace, what are you feeling? You really thought you were?
Yes.
I thought he was too.
I fathered her for 2 years.
I feel bad for him if he really feels
Good
like
girl,
that.
don't be quiet.
I do.
Be quiet.
I'm just
I feel bad for somebody now. Be quiet.
I do.
Mr. Wallace,
You took me through everything, Ray.
I took you through everything.
took me through
Boy,
everything.
Please, we'll go talk to somebody about that because if he was
hold on.
We don't need to talk
Hold
about
him
nothing.
on.
It's just-
okay, so it is
it's just
what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it
right?
is.
So, Ms. Wallace, your mouth has run a marathon today. I'm serious. And I kept listening and I kept trying to understand where you were at and why would you do this? And you had a reason for everything and you were adamant. You were convinced your ex-husband was your child's biological father. But he's not. Do you know who is?
I would say no. It's no reason for me to look for anybody else.
That's not what I asked. Listen, I'm only here for a Raylan. If you want to walk out this courtroom and be like, oh, if you want to hear me say this, I'm not going to look for other fathers, you go ahead and be that mother.
No,
No. You talked all day. I'm talking now. You go ahead and be that mother. And you hear me today, on this day, and don't you forget, you will suffer the consequence in your life when everybody's daddy walks their baby to school, when everybody's daddy shows up to the father-daughter dance, and she asks you the question, where's mine? I seen too many mothers stand up here and want to climb up on a rickety old soapbox that can't hold nobody steady. Not you and not no babies.